Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world.
In 2015, I became the pastor, and I didn't know what a pastor did. God decided male and female. As a pastor, like, so what do you think about gay men? I don't know. But I do know if I was there, maybe I would have told him, is there something in the middle you could do? Like kind of a little maybe if somebody, well, I was born like this, I don't know how I feel. I don't know why he decided to do it like this. I don't know why you're wrestling like that, and I don't know what to do to help you but to stand with you and pray with you, and you're welcome at Transformation Church. Trans is in the title. Transformation. You can be here.
Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Yahushua HaMashiach is come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesseth not that Yahushua HaMashiach is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. We are of God. He that knoweth God heareth us. He that is not of God heareth not us. Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. 1 John 4, 1-6. I'm pretty sure by now that you have heard that there were several mass shootings across the nation during the 4th of July Independence Day celebrations. At least 17 mass shootings were recorded across the country over the 4th of July holiday weekend. I'm about to show you how all of these events were nothing more than orchestrated satanic rituals meant to exalt the devil and his Antichrist. So without further ado, let's get into it. A mass shooting in Shreveport, Louisiana left 4 people dead and 7 injured at a 4th of July block party.
Following breaking news we first told you about early this morning, police are now reporting at least 4 people were killed and 7 injured in a 4th of July shooting in Shreveport's MLK neighborhood.
11 people were shot and 4 died after the shooting in the city's MLK neighborhood. The number 11 points to the Antichrist, who is identified as the 11th horn in Daniel 7, 7-8. Strong's Concordance lists H11 as Abaddon, which means the place of destruction, the abyss. It is also the name of the king of the bottomless pit. 4 people were killed and 7 wounded, which gives us the number 47. 47 or 47 points to the 4th of July, which can be expressed as 47 or 7-4. You may remember that there was a mass shooting on the 4th of July last year at a parade in the suburbs of Chicago. The shooter was Robert Bobby Cremo, a reference to Lucifer, who fell from heaven as Bob or Barack Obama. Remember, Bobby was caught on camera during the shooting dressed as a female.
He dressed as a woman while unleashing the attack he had allegedly been planning for weeks to try and conceal his identity and to help him escape.
Make note of this because you'll see it again later. Bobby Cremo also went by the name Awake the Rapper, and he had a video which used a symbol that is actually the number 44. Again, a reference to number 44, Obama. Further, Bobby also had a tattoo of the number 47 on his temple, a reference to Independence Day, and he also posted a video speaking about freedom.
Have you been held a prisoner of your own device? Freedom.
Notice how freedom transforms to freedom, like kingdom, a reference to Satan.
Freedom, 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 freedom.
Strong's Concordance lists H47 as Abir, which means mighty angels, obstinate, stubborn enemies of perverse mind. Therefore, this is meant to point to the independence, liberation, or setting free of the obstinate, stubborn enemies of perverse mind, the rebellious, fallen angels. The shooting in Shreveport happened in the MLK neighborhood, which is named after civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. MLK is another name for the horned bull god Molech, to whom children were sacrificed. The horned bull god points to the Chicago Bull, Bob, or Barack Obama. MLK was assassinated by a deadly head wound at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis on April 4th, or 4/4, which also points to Obama.
Good evening. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 39 years old and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement in the United States, was assassinated in Memphis tonight.
The name Lorraine means the kingdom of Lothar or Luther, which means the leader of the army or people. And this is a reference to the king of the bottomless pit, who leads the army of fallen angels from the pit. This is why Martin, a reference to Mars, the Martian fallen angel and god of war, Luther or Lothar King, was killed at the Lorraine Motel. The city of Memphis is a reference to the pyramids of Egypt, the pharaoh whom Obama was likened to, and being held both in physical and spiritual bondage. MLK also gave a speech at the Lincoln Memorial, which connects him to the emancipation, liberty, or setting free of those in bondage. At the end of his speech, he exclaimed, "Free at last," a reference to the setting free or releasing of the king of the bottomless pit.
We'll be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
This shooting happened in Shreveport. The name Shreveport is derived from two different words, Shreve, which is an occupational name for a sheriff, which means the chief or royal authority, and the word port, which means gateway or entrance. Thus, Shreveport means the entrance, gateway, or portal for the chief or royal authority, which once again points to the opening of the bottomless pit and the rise of the king of the pit, Abaddon or Apollyon. This also connects back to the satanic ritual Ocean Gate sacrifice, which also pointed to the opening of a portal or gateway to the abyss or bottomless pit. At least 9 people were injured in a shooting in Washington, D.C. during 4th of July celebrations.
A busy July 4th night for D.C. police. Within a span of 8 hours, officers were scattered across multiple shooting scenes, including Meade Street in Northeast. It's there where at least 9 people were shot while celebrating the holiday in the Deanwood neighborhood.
This dark-colored SUV drove through the 4700 block of Meade Street, northeast. As it drove through the street, it stopped and it fired shots in the direction of some of our residents that were outside.
A 9-year-old and a 17-year-old were among the shooting victims.
Just before 1 a.m., police responded to a report of a shooting in the 4700 block of Meade Street. When they arrived, officers discovered multiple shooting victims, including a 9-year-old and a 17-year-old. D.C. is the District of Columbia, which points to the goddess Columbia, who is Lucifer, the light bearer. Columbia is also represented by the Statue of Liberty, which was given to America by French Freemasons in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The Statue of Liberty then, once again, points to Independence Day, liberation or freedom in the setting free or releasing of the king of the bottomless pit.
Freedom, 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 free.
9 people were shot during this event on July 4th. The number 9 represents Satan, according to Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan, and these 9 people were shot on July 4th, or 7-4. 74 times 9 equals 666, the number of the beast. The time of the shooting was around 1 a.m. and Strong's Concordance lists H100 as Agmon, which means a boiling cauldron, to burn, to be hot, and to be corrupt. This also points to Lucifer, who was corrupted because of his beauty and then was cast out of heaven into the fiery cauldron of hell.
And he was cast into the fiery cauldron of hell. The searing heat, the scalding rivers of molten sulfur.
Oh, I'm there.
The shooting happened in the 4700 block of Meade Street. The number 4700 gives us 47, which points to the 4th of July, or 4/7. I told you earlier that Strong's Concordance lists H47 as a beer, which means mighty angels, obstinate, stubborn enemies, a perverse mind. The name Meade means to mow a meadow, from the Latin medere, which means to reap, mow, or crop, from an old Irish word that means reapers. This points to the reaper angel, the grim reaper, or angel of death, as well as the reaper angels that Yah will send into the world, which is compared allegorically with the field or meadow during the harvest, as found in Matthew 13:38 through 39, which declares, "The field is the world, the good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels." Earlier, I showed you the shooting by Awake the rapper at a 4th of July parade in the suburbs of Chicago, who had the number 47 tattooed on his temple. 47 reversed is 7-4, and the number 7-4 is connected to Chicago, the 6-pointed star, Saturn or Satan, and the devil as well. The gangster disciples, or GDs, use the number 74, since G equals 7 and D equals 4. The origin of the GDs began on the south side of Chicago in 1969, when Larry the King Hoover and the Supreme Gangsters united with David Barksdale and the Devil's Disciples. Barksdale was killed in 74, and following his death, Hoover took full control. Make note of this reference to Larry Hoover and the gangster disciples from Chicago who used the six-pointed star as a reference to the sixth god, Saturn or Satan, as we'll come back to it later. The number 74 represents the absence of light or darkness. Further, the name Lucifer equals 74 when you use the cipher A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, and so on. Also, the word demon and the verb to suffer are used 74 times in the scriptures. The victims of this shooting included a 9-year-old and a 17-year-old. Strong's Concordance lists age 9 as Avida, which means a lost thing, something lost in the place of destruction, the abyss, or Hades. Strong's Concordance also lists age 17 as Avoy, which means woe and sorrow. Therefore, the numbers 9 and 17 mean the lost will find themselves in the place of destruction, the abyss of Hades or hell, the place of woe and sorrow. Monday, July 3rd, 5 people were wounded and 2 killed on the eve of the 4th of July in Philadelphia.
And we continue to follow a developing story. Philadelphia police say a gunman wearing a bulletproof vest went on a shooting rampage last night in King Sessing, killing 5 people and injuring 2 children. That suspect is now in custody.
State and local leaders walked throughout the neighborhood where all of that violence unfolded, and they started here on South 56th Street, and their goal is to send a message of hope and healing to the community.
Notice the reporter mentions a message of hope and healing, which points to Obama in his slogan of hope.
It's been you who fueled my dogged faith in our future, even when the odds were great, even when the road is long. Hope in the face of difficulty, hope in the face of uncertainty, the audacity of hope.
This connection to Obama and hope was confirmed when police announced that the very first victim of this shooting was actually killed 44 hours before the mass shooting took place.
Some new details tonight on that mass shooting in King Sessing earlier this month. We have just learned that one of the victims had been dead for nearly 2 days before his body was discovered. According to the district attorney's office, Joseph Wama Jr. was shot and killed just after midnight on July 2nd. That's about 48 hours before his body was discovered, 44 hours before the mass shooting on July 3rd. They believe Kimbrady Carricker murdered him first.
The number 48 reversed is 84 and points to number 44, Obama's birthday. The shooting took place on 56th Street in the King Sessing neighborhood. The name King Sessing means the place where the meadow is. This connects back to the shooting in D.C. on Meade Street, which also means meadow and is a reference to the Reaper angels collecting God's chosen prior to pouring out his wrath on a wicked and corrupt world. Strong's Concordance lists age 56 as aval, which means to mourn, to lament. This is a reference to those who will mourn and lament when they are left behind. The suspect accused of this shooting is a 40-year-old transgender man and Black Lives Matter activist, Kimbrady Carricker. The number 40 points to the phrase 4-0 as another reference to Obama. On his Facebook page, the shooter posted 2 pictures of himself wearing a bra, a woman's top, and earrings with his hair braided like a woman. Remember earlier I showed you the mass shooter in Chicago on July 4th, 2022, Bobby Crimo, also dressed as a woman. This is a reference to the horned god Baphomet, who is depicted as a male with breasts. The fact that this shooter was involved with the Black Lives Matter movement also connects him to revolution or rebellion in the symbol of the fist raised towards heaven in defiance of God. The shooter wounded 2 boys, aged 13 and 2. This is a reference to the Antichrist or beast that rises from the sea, as found in Revelation 13 verses 1 and 2, which declares, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." The shooting in Philadelphia on the eve of July 4th, or Independence Day, was purposefully orchestrated to occur in Philadelphia to connect it with the theme of independence. We know this to be true because there is video of the shooter firing his gun near Independence Charter School.
Police are reviewing this video believed to be the suspect firing on South 56th Street near Independence Charter School West.
Not only that, but the Constitution was drafted in Philadelphia at Independence Hall and ratified by 13 states. We know that the number 13 is the number of rebellion, and it just so happens that the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. That is, except for those who are convicted of a crime and sentenced to prison. Philadelphia is also connected to freedom because of the Liberty Bell, which points to the setting free or releasing of the king of the bottomless pit from the prison of hell. Further, the Second Amendment to the Constitution is the right to bear arms. And after the shooting, politicians made reference to the Second Amendment when calling for new gun laws to restrict the purchase or ownership of so-called assault rifles.
This country needs to re-examine its conscience and find out how to get guns out of dangerous people's hands. A person walking down a city street with an AR-style rifle and shooting randomly at people while wearing a bulletproof vest with multiple magazines is a disgraceful but all too common situation in America. And I was today at Independence Hall where they wrote that Constitution, and the Second Amendment was never intended to protect this.
What you saw last night is why these weapons don't need to be in the hands of everyday citizens, and why we continue to fight in Harrisburg to remove them from our communities. You have people just walking, enjoying their lives, and these type of weapons has now altered many families in this community.
First, it's time for Congress to require a universal background check for anyone trying to buy a gun. Second, Congress should restore a ban on military-style assault weapons and a 10-round limit for magazines.
Independence Day, then, is a reference to rebellion or revolution and freedom. Interestingly enough, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. It was engrossed on parchment, and on August 2nd, 1776, delegates began signing it 2 days before Obama's birthday, August 4th. The declaration was headed the unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America. The number 13, which is the number of rebellion is found both in the 13 states associated with the Declaration and the year 76, or 7 plus 6, which equals 13, and further serves to connect the Declaration of Independence to the spirit of rebellion. Remember Obama's speech for the G20 in Philadelphia, where he mentioned 76 days.
Tonight, I want to talk as plainly as I can about the stakes in this election. Because what we do these next 76 days will echo through generations to come. I'm in Philadelphia, where our Constitution was drafted and signed.
It is important to note that the One World Tower that replaced the Twin Towers, which were destroyed on 9/11, a reference to Revelation 9/11 and the release of the King of the Bottomless Pit, is actually 1,776 feet tall. This is also meant to connect July 4th, 1776, in the spirit of rebellion, to the rise of Abaddon or Apollyon. The number 76 in the spirit of rebellion. On July 6th, or 7/6, Tupac's stepfather, the revolutionary and Black Liberation Army member Mutulu Shakur, passed away after being released early from prison on November 10th, 2022, after having served 36 years in prison. The number 36 is 666, the number of the beast. Mutulu was a revolutionary, which points to rebellion and revolution, and he died on 7/6, which points to the spirit of 76, which is the spirit of rebellion, the spirit of Antichrist. He was also a part of the Black Liberation Army, which further connects him to independence, or the emancipation or setting free of those in bondage. He was released on 9/10, the day before 9/11, a reference to Revelation 9/11 and the setting free or release of the King of the Pit. Mutulu was Tupac's stepfather, and we know that Tupac, who died on September 13th, also a reference to rebellion, was a type of false Messiah figure. Tupac survived a head wound, and he was also resurrected at a concert at the Coachella Valley Music Festival in April of 2012, which just so happened to occur around Easter. And he performed the song Hail Mary, a reference to the Virgin and Child. Clearly, this was meant to point to the coming rise of the false Messiah. This was confirmed by rapper Drake, who also used a hologram of his own recently. On July 6th, or 7/6, it was reported that rapper Drake used a hologram of his younger self that handed him a rhyme book during a concert in Chicago. The date this was reported, 7/6, points to the spirit of rebellion, which is the spirit of Antichrist, since 7 plus 6 equals 13, the number of rebellion. It also points to liberation, since Independence Day is July 4th, 1776. You may remember Kanye West performed his Donda release party in Chicago, where he set himself on fire while singing I'm Free. This was done as a representation of the opening of the bottomless pit and the setting free of Abaddon or Apollyon, the king of the pit. The name Drake means the dragon, a reference to Satan. Drake is 36 years old, which gives us 3 6s, or the number 666, the number of the beast. The fact that this occurred in Chicago points to the horned bull god MLK or Malek and the Chicago Bull, Obama. Drake's hologram wore a Chicago Cubs jersey, which points to the Antichrist, who has the feet of a bear, as found in Revelation 13:2. The use of the hologram is also a reference to the creation of the image of the beast, as found in Revelation 13, 14, and 15, which declares, "And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." Drake is called the sixth god, which points to the horned god Saturn or Satan, and connects back to the gangster disciples from Chicago who used the six-pointed star and the number 74, which points to July 4th or Independence Day. Remember, Drake and Kanye also performed their Free Hoover concert in support of setting free the leader of the GDs, King Larry Hoover, at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. I told you then that Drake represented the dragon and Kanye the false messiah. In fact, the Coliseum boasts a giant torch of fire at its pinnacle, which points to Lucifer, the light bearer. The connection to Larry Hoover also points to the Ubermensch or Superman, since Hoover comes from the word Uber. Superman is a reference to the false savior, and he has also been connected to Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. The false savior, Superman, was also connected to hope.
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
And of course, this connects back to Obama's slogan of hope.
The audacity of hope.
Moreover, we also know that Obama declared himself to be the false savior, Superman.
Let me try to give you some answers. Who is Barack Obama? Contrary to the rumors that you've heard, I was not born in a manger. I was actually born on Krypton and sent here by my father, Jor-El, to save the planet Earth.
It is clear then that each and every one of these orchestrated satanic rituals conducted on or around July 4th, Independence Day, were meant to exalt the devil and his Antichrist. The message being declared to the world couldn't be more obvious. The time of the end is at hand. Therefore, if you have not given your life to the Most High by accepting the blood sacrifice of the Paschal Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, which was shed on the cross as a propitiation for the redemption of sins, the time to do so is now. Amen. Shalom.